Today's screencast is going to be focusing on ways to incorporate technology into the classroom, creating a technology plan for a 3-year time slot, focusing on 3 different groups. The first group being your veteran teachers who have 20 plus years of teaching experience but are highly resistant to incorporating technology into their classrooms. The second group is about new teachers who are highly proficient in technology but would struggle or are struggling in ways to incorporate that technology into the classroom in an effective teaching manner as opposed to a fun method. And the third group is substitute teachers and how substitute teachers can use technology efficiently while they're in another teacher's classroom. So starting off, I have 2 web documents open. The first one is Google, and the second one is a blank document on my Google Drive. I'm going to start off by titling this Technology Plan Memo, because that's what the project is creating this memo for kind of my school district. And my school district is very unique in the fact that we have several teachers that have their 20 plus years that are, in fact, highly resistant to technology. We don't have a lot of very brand new teachers. I'm a 7-year teaching veteran, and I'm one of the newest members on staff. So we don't have a lot of brand new teachers that fall into that second category. And then, as always, schools always have substitute teachers. So our school will use, or could possibly use, several of these ideas to incorporate into our technology plan. And when I was thinking about this, one of the first things I was trying to think of different ways on how this technology plan could be potentially implemented within the school. And my first thought is the best way to incorporate technology or to introduce technology to a staff is through professional development. So professional development is going to be one of the key components for my plan. However, the professional development days that we have them once a month, and they're not full days. We have shifted our calendar to be a little more advantageous for students, and we have PD time, like I said, once a month from 1 p.m. until 3 p.m., which at this point seems to be working fairly well. It's a 2-hour little time slot, so we can get in, focus on what we need to focus on, and then we can go and work on applying that to our classrooms. And I think that time slot, that 2-hour time slot, if you really focus that attention span to that 2 hours, would be very beneficial, especially for incorporating technology. When incorporating something new, it's important not to overwhelm the people that are receiving this information. They have to be able to receive the information and think about it and not be overwhelmed with fact after fact or idea after idea after idea. You have to kind of slowly integrate it in a step-by-step process to eventually work that technology effectively into the classroom. So focusing on our professional development days, and like I said, we have 3 groups. We have the veteran teachers of 20 plus years, and then we have a second group, which is the new teachers with technology skills, and then we have our third group of substitute teachers. And I think all 3 of these groups are very different, and that different approaches actually have to happen for each of these groups in order for that training and the implementation to be fully effective. So, now that I kind of have this, not even really an outline, but this spacing set up, and we're going to focus, like I said, on incorporating this technology or encouraging this technology to be used and introducing it to the staff within that 2-hour time period once a month. Give enough information for people to understand how to use it, some time to practice whatever tool you're going to be focusing on for that month, and then you let it go. That way staff has time to work it out, try it in their classrooms, even try it with one class or try it with all their classes. Have that month in between staff developments for them to actually try it, and when you come back the next month for PD, you discuss what things really worked, what you learned, what you want to improve on, and then potentially at that point as well, you introduce another tidbit, another piece of technology, another tool, another resource that can be used. I think that is going to be the key, especially with dealing with the veteran teachers, is that you don't overwhelm them. Technology, as great as it is, can be overwhelming for the generation that has not grown up with it and is not used to it. Their first thought, often when they need to look something up, might be actually to go to a book, as opposed to everybody else in the world, or that's a younger generation, is going to Google it. So I think that's one of the things to keep in mind. So I'm going to add that as like a bullet point for my veteran teacher, is that we add a resource tool once a month. And during that month, or during that time period, that professional time period, we're add one resource tool once a month. PD time is given to provide information about this tool, how to use it, when to use it, how the tool works within the classroom, and then another key part is that teachers have time within PD to experiment and ask questions. Okay, so that's the mindset, the mind frame. So, and I also, another thing that I think is that you need to start simple with a simple tool and work your way up. So you don't necessarily want to start off with having teachers create their own website. That, because there's so many different features and facets of that, that would be very overwhelming for our veteran population. It's better to start off simple, give them one little area, one tool to focus on, and then each month you add in like a next feature. So I'm going to go to Google, and we're going to start looking for simple ways to add technology in the classroom and see what we can come up with. Easy ways to use technologies, even for technophobic teachers. That sounds perfect. Okay, everyone wants teachers to use technology in classroom, but you're busy meeting standards, prepping students for tests, maybe you're not too fond of computers. Easy ways to bring your classroom up to date. Okay, it talks about classroom iPads. Okay, I want to stick away from using the tablets. We don't have a lot of tablets within our school system at this point. There's only a few classrooms that have them, so it's not that we're going to try and bring in a bunch of different apps to showcase to teachers, but one of the things, so that's a different area. We're going to look at what they can do. Perfect EdTech activities for beginners. Do a PowerPoint game show review. Okay. Tech-savvy teachers have used Microsoft PowerPoint to create review games based on the famous game shows, including Jeopardy, Weakest Link, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and these templates are available for teachers to download and revise, including their own content. Check out this template or search PowerPoint game show. So let's see what this template offers us. Okay, and we've been directed to Murray County Schools. I don't think this is the template that they wanted us to go to. If it is, it's not quite the right way. So we might have to Google that here in just a second. Have students complete a written classroom activity as if it was online. Ever have your students write a diary from the perspective of a character or famous person? Why not have them create a blog instead? Look for various blog sites, to the most, and create a template for your students to fill in. Want students to summarize the information? Ask them to tweet the lesson. Okay, so I have 2 examples right here that I think would be good intro pieces to show our veteran teachers. When we go into Google, all of our schools have our own Gmail accounts, and so we have access to all the apps that arrive with Google, including Blogger. Okay. And once I have to re-enter my password, I don't want to do this right at the moment. Can I skip this? Just continue to Blogger. Nope. Doesn't want to let me do this right at the moment. I already have a Blogger account set up. Let's go back. Alright, here we go. So, as you can see, I already have 2 different blogs that I have created under my account for various school things, but it's very easy. All you have to do is create a login name, and then you go to a new blog, and you can do something like, if I wanted to do Miss Hunter's English class, and then I type in maybe T. Hunter English classroom, and then I have it, and if I do, this is where you get the training for teachers. Okay, they can pick whatever background template they want to use. If they want to use this one, we can create this blog. They're creating a blog. And creating a blog with Google and using their e-blogger is very simple. A subdomain name is not available. Okay, how about we just do Miss Hunt? I think I already used the classroom one. Let's try that one. Page you requested is invalid. Okay, let's try again. Oh, it started it right there. And here I can tag, add to. This is where the training comes in for those older veterans. They can learn how to post something, create a new post, comments, and they could also be told how to have students log onto their page and add their posts, add their comments. A new post, when I click on this, is just like typing an email, it's just typing it up. So for my English one, I can, sample number 1, and as a sample, after reading the short story, The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, characterize the differences between Walter Mitty in reality versus Walter Mitty in Dreamland. And that can be something, that's my question. And I post that, I publish it. Okay, and it's to public, I hit share, and then I can go on and I can view it, I could edit it, preview what's it going to look like on my blog, and once I post that there, I can have students make their comments back to it using the technology. So, my Google Drive keeps on switching me from one email account to another. Let's go back to my drive. Okay, we're going to have to look for technology plan. And I am not seeing my document. Wonder what's going on with Google here. It's apparently kicking me out between, what one am I signed in as? Yep, that's the one I want. Let's try it here and just see if it's technology plan. Maybe memo plan, will that help? Nope. Alright, so apparently I'm going to have to create a new one. I'm not sure why that didn't save. Technology plan memo. Okay. And I had professional development, which is once a month from 1 p.m. till 3 p.m. To 3 p.m. and I had 3 subgroups, which was veteran teachers, 20 plus years, resistant to technology, new teachers with tech skills but not effective tech teaching skills. And then 3 was our substitute teachers. Okay. So now the trick of this is trying to remember what I had typed up already. Google, it's supposed to save all drives, all changes in Drive. It's the first time I've ever had that happen to me. Okay. Resistant to technology. We were going to start simple. Introducing one tool a month. Allow for PD time to be used to introduce new tool, learn about effectiveness of the tool, and time to experiment with the tool. Okay. So examples that we have is blog postings, and because this is something new that maybe they only publish, or depending on what people are comfortable with, and this is one of the things that we would judge in this meeting, maybe blog postings you only post, you do it 3 times a month. And so it doesn't matter, you can do it with 3 different classes, with the same class 3 times. If you wanted, all of your English 1 classes, which for me that would be 2 classes to do this, maybe I just do it for 1 class, but they do it 3 times. It's kind of up to us as we kind of gauge through this. So, but we have the blog postings as an example. Another one that was suggested was using those, I'll switch how this formatted here. There we go. Online review game templates, minus the one that took us to a school page. Review game templates, things like Jeopardy, or Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Okay, that's something. We're going to close off Blogger because I think Blogger is what kind of screwed up my Google Drive at the moment. Too many wanted me to open it up in one account when I was in another account. So let's go back to, we're going to go back to this account, this website that was telling us 12 ways to use effective technology. Okay, and so that's written by Kim Haynes. So our examples are by Haynes. And let's see, do we have a time when she wrote this article or this blog posting? I see some stuff from 2 years ago. That's our oldest, it looks like. Our comments, responses back. But I don't see a specific date here. Okay, so we're just going to put Haynes behind that. Alright, what other things does she suggest for teachers to use to incorporate a web quest? I'm not sure web quest is something that we want to use to start off with. Web quest takes a little bit more time to actually search for a quality one, but it's one of a good one. We're going to modify this examples for first items to use. Okay, and then we're going to have examples for further, for more in-depth applications. Because there are a lot of web quests out there, and sometimes it does take just a simple search to find a good web quest, but that's in order to actually find one, and then you have to go through it and look at all the processes and the information that's being provided in a web quest that's already generated. That might take a little bit more time, and something that you want to do some collaboration with other teachers that are teaching the same subject as you. If you really think that this is a good web quest, but you want another opinion from somebody else that teaches a similar subject and or content with you, PD time is a good time to look at doing that. Create a class web page is another one that would be a great thing to do. However, web pages take lots of time. So I'm going to add that to examples for complete integration, because to do a web page is going to take a lot of time to experiment and look at what things you need to incorporate. You need to do some almost an analysis of what other teachers are doing that are out there that are successful. I mean, layouts. Okay, so now we have kind of 3 steps within our veteran teachers, and all this time is starting simple, one time a month, one tool, and I think it needs to be, I'm going back up to the top now, and we need to be repetitive. Repetitive with instruction, because just like kids, sometimes we get going, especially if you are doing this hands-on in front of a computer with a computer lab. teachers start exploring. Even your veteran teachers will start exploring and not necessarily pay attention to everything that's being told to them. So repetitive with instruction and your how-tos. That is going to be key for our veterans with their training. The important thing to remember is that with veteran teachers, one of the reasons that they are resistant is because it's the unfamiliar. And so that's why we kind of have to work our way up for this 3-year plan. And maybe only in the first year we look at things like the blog postings, review games, maybe one other component, and eventually work your way up. When you get to web quests, it's not only about searching for others, for others that are useful, but also creating your own. And maybe it's a goal that you create at least one web quest within that second year. And so you develop it using that whole year, using that once a month PD time. You are starting, that first meeting of the month or that PD time in August before school starts. You introduce the concept of web quests. From there, you add in, this is what you're going to do. This is the generator format that we are going to use. Whichever template out there that is best suitable for your school system, you look at that, and then you sit down as a group, as a staff, and you create your first one. Alright, I like this color scheme, but somebody else likes this color scheme, and I'm going to focus on this topic. And somebody else is going to, somebody else will focus on their subject. So I might make one for history, somebody else does their own math one. And then every time you meet after that, you incorporate a little bit more. So one time you work on the content. Maybe the next PD day you work on adding in resources from outside. What's the actual web quest going to be? What websites do you want students to go to and to find information, to learn about a topic? Then maybe your next PD day you look at how you are going to assess their information. What assessments are you going to put in? Is it going to be summative? Is it going to be formative? Are you going to have more than one? Do you want to throw in a quiz? Something along that line. There's a variety of different things that you can incorporate as each lesson or each time goes on. And so by the end of that school year, you have worked individually with these veteran teachers from start to finish, from the setup all the way to the execution. And then your last staff meeting of the month would be that feedback that you get from students. What did they like about your web quest? What didn't they like about your web quest? What did you find there were some kinks along the way? That something happened that you didn't think about and you had to ad-lib. What was going on for that? And then same thing could be said for that year 3. Web page. You start off small. That's the key thing. Start off small. Start off simple and introduce something once a month. So with your web page, you start with layout. What's your layout? Are you going to have your click-ons at the top with drop-down menus? Are you going to have them on the side where when you click on something, the drop-down menu, there's not necessarily a drop-down menu that is rollover. It just drops down and you can see it there, so you can have everything drop down so you have one long list on the side. What are your options? What content are you going to put in? Could be another one. Are you going to set up just an English page, or are you going to diversify it between English 1 and English 2? Are you going to focus on just history classes, or are you going to do U.S. history, world history, Michigan history? There's a lot of different options, a lot of different things you're going to put up there. Are you just going to put out information? Is it just going to be a source for tools for kids to go to when they need to find something, content, information? Or are you going to use your web page as a way for students to turn in work or connect it to a blog? That web page, because there are so many facets for that web page would be like the trifecta, the final result. So, I think we have a good layout, a good plan for our senior veteran teachers on different things that they can do, and there's a lot of different things. One of the things that I use that I just thought about that would be a simple thing would be this website called Socratic, which, if we go to this, is a great tool, a great learning system. Oh, why does it take me to org? I want com. Okay, it is a free resource. It keeps going to .com or org. I want .com. Okay, I want this one right here. Okay, you teachers log in. It's a free account, and I log in using my school account. And this would be something that could be even easier to incorporate for those veteran teachers, because all it is it's an online quiz system. You can manage your quizzes, create a quiz, import a quiz. If you have a quiz that's already in like an Excel document, that's great. Create a quiz. You could just name it. Maybe I want to call it Unit 2 Imperialism for History, Unit 2 Imperialism, and I'm going to add in a multiple choice question. I type in my question here, and then I type in my answers, whatever they may be, and this one's going to be the correct one. And I go through, I can add an explanation, I can add in short answer, true, false, I can connect it to an image, and then when I'm done, I save it. And I go back to, and then it's there forever. We want to leave the page. And so when I go to start a quiz, these are some of the quizzes that I've already created for this year. I can see, I have the options. I can see students' names, I can randomize the question order, the answer, I can watch as they start this quiz, and all I have to do is hit my start for login. I have my room number, kids just need that room number, and go to the website, and boom, they log in and they can take the quiz. And I can see live results. So this is a pretty simple, easy technology that kids really actually like taking these types of quizzes in my classroom, because they get the feedback right away. They can see, boom, I got question 1 wrong, I got question 7 wrong. So before the quiz is done, if I gave them like a 10-question quiz, they know, alright, I really sucked at that one, I got 50, I got 5 wrong, or something to that effect. And so kids really enjoyed taking that. So that might be something that's easy enough to do, especially since you can upload images to this quiz. Okay, so now where I have this, I'm going to put online quiz system. And so we have a variety of different things that we can use here. Alright, our next focus is going to be new teachers that have the tech skills but are not effective teachers. So we're going to go back to Google, and we're going to do new teachers, effectiveness with technology. Let's see. Let's see what comes up here. Teaching with technology. 7 habits of highly. Nope, this isn't really what I'm looking for. I'm trying to think here, because when I think of new teachers with technology that have these skills, maybe I want to do something along the lines of teachers using social media in the classroom. Maybe something like that. So let's see what a guide for social media in the classroom has for us. Because I know my kids all the time are obsessed with not so much Facebook. Facebook's popularity is still there. It's just gone down in the past. Kids more like things like Instagram or Snapchat. Twitter still has its fluxes. And so social media, I don't want to take the quiz and I don't want the answer. 12 ways teachers are using social media in the classroom right now. Tweet or post status updates as a class. Propose nuggets of learning that are posted for parents to read. Write blogs about what students are learning. So there we have the blog system still going. So that's something actually that might work well with new teachers. Because if I think about this, I'm going to type that in ways to use social media Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Okay, I always use in classroom. Okay, and so maybe one of the things that can be a joint separation for your professional development time, because some of these, using an online review template that you have for your veteran teachers would seem maybe a little simple for your new teachers with tech skills. They went to college, and so they are familiar with some of the latest technology tools and ways to use them in the classroom. So creating a Jeopardy review game might be a little too mundane for your new teachers. So you might actually have to separate your PD time. Veteran teachers are in this room working on this. New teachers or younger teachers, whichever you prefer, are in this room working on this. But every now and then it would be nice to mix. And so maybe they can use blogs as well. Blogs within the classroom. And the same thing. Blog postings, but maybe because they're a little more familiar with the technology, they have to do it, every class has to do it 3 times a month. Make it a little more applicable for them. It's something that they're able to do. I don't want to say that their standards are higher, because their standards aren't higher. It's just the skill level is different. And so if you require something like blog postings 3 times a month in every class, that is going to make that a little more applicable. And to keep my uniform, I like order. We're going to put this as first year tech skills. Examples for first year tech skills, we have blogs. So that way it's something simple that they might already have a blog. And like I said, since our school system has that capability, that's very easy for a new teacher who has been exposed to blogs and knows what type of layouts blogs are, or they are familiar with the language of setting up different types of technology online, that this would be something very simple for them to do. Let's see here, what else? Connect to other classrooms through social media. Use Facebook to get feedback for your students' online science fair projects. Use YouTube for your students to host or show a podcast. Create Twitter accounts for special interest projects. Ask questions to authenticate learning. Communicate with others. Create projects with other teachers. Learning about the world. Cause that you care about. Okay, so a couple of good things in there that we can do. Examples, you can connect with another classroom and do almost like virtual pen pals. There we go. Virtual pen pals, where you can video record and do video messaging, virtual pen pals with videos. So that way you can actually see this other person you're talking to. Another thing that, depending on the technology, now this would be something that my school would have to invest money in order to make this work, but you could do those video or podcasts and upload them. Kids watch YouTube all the time. Why not make them use YouTube for their own education? It's not that difficult, provided that you have the technology and the skills to create their own video. Maybe they do their video, do a video analysis, or they take a scene from a novel and a couple of them act it out as part of a project. So there's lots of different things that are out there for the social media aspect. Let's see here. This was written in 2014. Okay, so this is a fairly new by Davis. Let's add her into this thing. So let's see what other things we can come up with. Okay, second year skills, let's see. I think all those that I had for first year were fairly easy to do. I am not necessarily considered a digital native. I'm more of a digital immigrant, but I'm in between, more or less, because I've had the technology. I was just not born into the technology. And so I think those first three things are something that I, as a in-betweener, could easily do, provided that you have the technology and the capabilities to do something like that. Let's see what other things are out there for using digital technology, social media within the web. Establish online guidelines, devise a Twitter channel. See, there's Twitter. Use Skype for guest speakers. Ideas from your peers. Okay. I kind of like Skype as an English teacher for guest speakers, because one of the things that we could do is potentially keep that in mind, is it's hard. Money's always tight in school districts, and so if we are able to use Skype to our advantage and Skype with an author, although you have to make that contact, but that's why it's for a second year potentially, is because it takes you a while to filter through the channels as a teacher to try and get in touch with that person. It's not like we can all go on a field trip and visit so-and-so, this author, or it's not like you can go on field trips a lot because of money issues, because the budgets are tight. However, Skype, you just have to have computer access and you can log in and talk with that person. So maybe Skyping with a guest would be something interesting. That way you can have some Q&A questions ahead of time. So this would take more prep work to fully make it work. So that's why I think maybe for a second year, more prep work is going to be required on the teacher's behalf to get this done. So that way you can talk about different things. You are a little more experienced. I mean, if you're going to want to talk with a author of something, you want to be, as a teacher, well versed in that work, as well as well versed in the technology, enough that you can guide your students to be able to Skype with this author on a basis that proves their competence in the material. Shada Mirza wrote this in 2014. It's a fun name. I don't think there was anything else. Facebook page. Get ideas from your peers. Let's see if there's something. I'm trying to think if there's another way we can use. Let's see here. Using social media sites to interact with students. Social media statistics. Maybe for a second year, as again this takes a little more prep work on the teacher. They set up, if they have the capabilities and their students have the capabilities, some sort of flipped lesson. I'm not going to say a full complete flipped classroom, A flipped lesson, because it does take a lot more prep work to have the materials and the videos online, because that takes a lot for the student or for the teachers to create the videos to upload, to set up some sort of learning system. Where are these kids going to do this? Are they going to be on a school webpage? Or are you going to send them the links? Are you going to have your own outside source? Something that line. So maybe a flipped lesson, which is going to tie in with my thoughts about having the learning management system. You have things like Schoology or Edmodo. I mean, some schools I know have used to like a Blackboard facility. You can even, if you wanted to do, you can do this with, just a blog program. We'll put eBlogger on there for the Google one. And you can upload those videos and students view them, and then they can also leave their comments on this system. So I think that's another really good way for students to, or for new teachers to try and incorporate those skills. And maybe the second year, this is potential depending on your staff and our staff and whatnot, maybe second year would be a good time to incorporate an individual teacher webpage. They have a little bit more skills, a little more knowledge, and so if you have an individual teacher webpage, these two possibilities are a lot more practical and a lot more doable if you already have that web page established. And my thoughts behind having this happen for a second year for the new teachers or the teachers that have higher tech proficient skills is that they already are familiar with the language of being online, because we all know that language is a brand new component of the online world. It's not necessarily the same language that you speak every day. There's different things. You don't necessarily talk about drop-down menus or taskbars or things like that when you are talking to a person. But they are common in everyday language when dealing with online venues. And so if you set this up as a web page for an individual teacher for the second year, they are able to accomplish some of these other things. That learning management system, if that's where you want them to have their web page, maybe their web page is just their Edmodo page. Or maybe you have them do a web page through Google and they connect it to their blogger. So there's a lot of different things that you do with this. And because I think the second year would be a harder year for teachers, for second year teachers, because if you were going to require all of this from them, you are definitely going to have to take some more time. Not necessarily the whole year, but you're going to take more time to make sure that they know what is expected of them to have on that web page or have in that learning management system. What all is going to be required, and then give them free reign to experiment, and then come back to the next meeting still once a month with that feedback and say, all right, you tasked me with our last meeting of setting up my page, making sure I had some information for this and this, but I didn't like the layout of this, or I came across this problem. How can I do it? Because we are not all versed in every facet of the web and not all well versed within every program, because there's so many different options out there. It's possible that your new teachers do have the skills, but they're not completely knowledgeable about that particular program. Whenever somebody's introduced to something new, it does take some time to learn it. My other motive behind having new teachers start their webpage a year sooner is because then you have some practical examples for your veteran staff to look at when it comes time to them. So if you have 6 people in, say, your history department, 2 of them are veterans, 1's a middle year person or middle career, and then you have a couple newbies, and you require your newbies to set up their web pages first, and those newbies set up their web pages year 2, and they've played with them, they've tinkered with them, adjusted things. then you can take that information, those actual websites, and show them to your veteran teachers and say, look at some of the examples. These are just some examples, and we will work our way from point A, starting off, to completion, so that way you will develop a web page that looks or is as useful as some of these that your colleagues have created. So that's a little bit more credibility, that's a little bit more concrete, that's continuity between your department, that you have all of this from, ninth grade history all the way up to, your AP senior history, that you have everything covered in between, and those veteran teachers now have another resource to go to. Rather than just waiting once a month to go to their PD, they can go to that younger colleague and say, hey, I was on your webpage, I saw how you did this, and I really liked it. Can you show me how to do that on my webpage? And so now you have more intermingling, you have more dialogue being exchanged, and you have resources that are there for those veteran teachers to go to the new teachers and find out information. You also empower your new teachers with them being able to teach their mentors some new skill. And so you have a lot of intermingling going on, and I don't think that's really going to prompt any bad things. You just have good news coming about. Good methods, good sharing, collaboration, all sorts of goodness. Now, for the third year, for your newbies, I'm a little bit stumped. I'm not really sure if we have all of this stuff going on. I might actually, now that I'm looking about this, because if you create a web page second year, we're going to cut this out. If you create that web page the second year, we're going to cut this from here, and we're going to paste it here. We'll shift it over so it's inlined here. If you have a web page that second year, if you create the web page the second year, that's kind of a lot and can be overwhelming depending on how much content and how much information you are going to teach. So I'm actually going to switch down here to that flipped lesson to try it out, because you never know. You don't never know until you succeed. You never know until you try. Maybe the flipped lesson will work really well for a specific class. But again, that takes a lot of prep. And in order for that flipped lesson to truly be effective, students as well as the teachers are going to have to be familiar with that web page. You as a teacher have to know how everything's set up, how you have everything aligned before you go ahead and try this new facet. And if second year you're making, if you're requiring that new teachers have that web page done in the first 6 months, that gives you, or the first half of the year, that gives you the second half of the year for teachers to actually showcase this and familiarize their students with this plan and this layout and say, alright, today instead of using the textbook, we are going to go to the computer lab and you are going to familiarize yourself with my class webpage. And you can almost make it like a scavenger hunt. And you have the information there, and kids have to search for it, and they tell you where they find this information, so that way kids become familiar with the web page. And then as a teacher, you have to reiterate that. And you have to say, alright, on my web page is this link, you're going to have to use this. Or tonight's homework is posted on the class web page, or you have to comment on tonight's post on the blog that's linked on our class web page. So that way you have teachers that are using it, have 6 months, they're about half a year, to actually get their students familiar with it before going with this flipped lesson. And that flipped lesson might take you a while to develop. I don't think that there are a lot of new teachers out there that have the skills to effectively do a flipped lesson. They might know about it and they understand how it works, but think about this. If you have a brand new teacher, just graduated college, this past June, okay, or this past May, and they're in their first year of teaching, are they going to know how to fully, completely create a lesson that's effective, not only for the classroom, but now flip it and put it online? I'm going to say no. Your first year of teaching is a huge wake-up call. And so therefore, you want to have your teachers have classroom teaching experience before they have online classroom teaching experience. To put themselves out there in a video might be very easy, but to be able to lecture or to give the content in a way that students understand it, to link videos to a website all relating to one content, to have students become familiar enough with that content, with that subject, with that focus in one lesson for one night and then come back and actually apply that is going to take a lot of planning. And that is something that new teachers will not have the experience with. They can probably plan out something great, but whether or not they know it's going to be applicable or they know students well enough that they can successfully achieve this is going to be the question. So that might actually be just the focus for the third year, is to create that flipped lesson. And you might have them do two, one in the middle of the year and one towards the end of the year, and have them report back on the successfulness of the first lesson compared to the second lesson. So I'm going to add that in here. Possible for two a year, first in the middle, so like December, January time period maybe, and then the second would be April, May maybe, to learn, possibly 2 years, we're going to do this. April, May, see the difference and record progress and changes. I mean, it's good to see the data and how things are going to evolve and that sort of thing. Alright, so I think I got three. I got my 3 years for my for my veterans. I got 3 years for my new teachers. Okay, substitute teachers. Now this one is going to be a tough one because substitute teachers change constantly, and substitute teachers are not required to attend professional development that you hold at your school. I was a substitute teacher for a year, and I substituted in 4 different school districts, in countless different schools, in countless different classrooms, and they all had different technology. They all had different capabilities. I was in one middle school science classroom that had, I was showing a Bill Nye Science video, and they had the capability to show that video on 3 different projection screens throughout the room. So no matter where the child was sitting, they could see it. I'd never had that before in my life. I've always had one. I was in another classroom where I had to play another video. It was on a DVD through the teacher computer, but I had to move it from the teacher screen and like take my mouse and shift it over to the projected screen. I'd never done that before. I actually had a student show me how to do it. They're like, oh, you do this and blah, 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 and they showed me right away. And I was like, oh, I'd never been exposed to that. I've been exposed to a variety of different things, but each classroom, each school district has a variety of things. And so this professional development once a month, from 1 to 3, really is only applicable to teachers. You can't require substitute teachers to come in for that PD time because they don't get paid. Even if they sub that day at 1 o'clock, it's an early release, or 11 o'clock, whatever, early release, they leave. And so substitute teachers' technology is going to be a little harder to manage. So the best way to incorporate technology is, I guess, to have on hand or to leave detailed step-by-step directions about what to do. Okay, if you are going to have if you want online attendance, and this is where the school districts come in. to save paper, go green. Online attendance, you have to have a program, online attendance, that allows subs to access attendance, but not grades. Our grade book, our online attendance program, and our grade book are connected together. Once I log into my grade or my attendance, all I have to do is hit a side button that says grade book, and boom, my grade book opens, and there are all my grades. But because of privacy laws, I can't leave that password for my substitute teacher. They have no need to know a child's grade. So my school district has set up a way that there's a feature within our attendance that we have a generic password for a substitute teacher, and then they actually have a drop-down menu, and they select the teacher who they are covering for or who they are substituting for, and they can take attendance from there, and the only thing they have access to is the kids' names on that access or on the attendance list. There's no attendance records for previous attendance. There's nothing of that sort. There's not even a sidebar menu where I would normally hit for my grade book. And so that's something that is great, but are all substitutes trained in that? No. Do all school districts employ that same program? No. And so this is where we kind of have to have almost training sessions to some degree for substitute teachers. And there can't be universal, and it's hard to say, because if I'm substituting in 4 different districts, am I going to have to go to 4 different training sessions? And that doesn't seem right. Because substitutes are paid for only the days that they work. It's not salary, it's not, anything like that. And I guarantee you that the sub program, this privatized company will not pay for those training days. And so it's really hard to kind of come up with a 3-year plan for substitute teachers with that in mind. So, you have to leave your detailed instructions. You have to have a program that allows students or teachers to leave certain materials with substitutes so that way they can do the lesson. At the same time, like I did, like when I was a sub, if there wasn't detailed instructions on how to play this video, and I was in a high school setting, and it just said, play, I can't even remember what movie it was, play movie for students and pass out, the questions that go along with the movie. Okay? There were very limited directions. And so, at my school, in order for students to watch a video, you actually have to use 3 separate remotes. One for the DVD player, one for the projection screen, for the projector, and one for the sound. And that can be very confusing. We don't have universal remotes for school systems. So maybe that might have to be something that schools look into. I'm not really sure if that's feasible, but it's something to consider. And that's not necessarily a plan for the substitute teachers. Something should be done about having substitutes do maybe an online training session. For school districts, if school districts, here's something. Okay, school districts create online videos of how-tos. Okay, accessible to substitutes. Okay? And these could be a variety of things, you know, how to take attendance, make copies if are needed. I mean, I leave copies for my staff or for my substitute teacher, but sometimes, you know, the copy machine stops, and I mean, I send it to the copy machine and I go and pick it up. I don't actually count to see if there's, you know, 75 pages of this, or if, you know, maybe the copy machine ran out of paper and I didn't know that it ran out of paper and it looked like it printed my entire stack and I only have, you know, 60 and I needed the 75. What's the sub to do? So maybe making copies is something. You know, take attendance, make copies, play videos. There's even a possibility, I mean, to, let's go back here, you know, access the lesson plans. That might be something that's on there for teachers to post, to leave that. You know, if teachers have everything online, you know, and they have to, teacher web pages, I'm gonna add that. You know, teachers post everything online for students to see, for subs to see. Subs have to be knowledgeable and well versed in, you know, getting to the internet, getting online, getting onto a computer, turning on a computer, to be able to see this stuff, especially if you want to go green. I mean, there's no reason why, if you as a third year new teacher have a web page, that you can't direct a sub to go leave them a little sticky note that says sub plans are on my teacher web page. You know, go to this website, you know, go to the school web page, and if the web page has a spot for teacher web pages, they just have to be able to navigate the web browser / school web page to find those lesson plans. So, and that might be something, I mean, but subs change intermittently, so your 3-year plan for substitute teachers is not necessarily a 3-year plan on how to better familiarize substitutes with your stuff, because honestly, subs are fluid. I was only a sub for a year, truthfully only for a half a year, until I found a full-time job. And some people are substitutes just because they need some extra money, they're temporarily out of work, they have college credits, you know, and they come and they go, or some subs, you know, only sub for this particular teacher, or only sub on this particular day, and, you know, something else comes up in their other lives. Substitutes are not a permanent fixture. They are not. There's not such a thing as a permanent substitute. They're just temporary, and so you have to have a system set up that is going to make the information available to subs relatively easy, and that's a plan that the district has to create, and then the district has to follow through with that plan. Alright, so at this point, I think I have just about everything covered. I have my 3 years for veteran teachers, and I have 3 years for new teachers and what's expected of them. And then I have some general guidelines on how to implement different options for districts to consider. We're going to add that at the top. Options for districts to consider implementing substitute teachers. And depending on what is feasible for that district, and because it's up to the districts, it's harder to establish a 3-year plan for each individual district. But looking at this, I would be more than happy to turn over this memo of notes to my administration to see what they think about how we can incorporate technology into our classrooms in an effective manner that will benefit the students in the long term, as well as benefit all teachers to becoming more effective with technology in their classrooms